Good day, my name is Omkar and welcome to Diksha. Today on Diksha we are going to be looking at the Hindu wedding vows. So the Hindu wedding vows, or the 7 promises made in the Hindu marriage ceremony, are meant to be promises to cement the intentions of the bride and groom. Now, a lot of people don't know what these vows are beforehand and would be hearing them for the first time in the marriage ceremony. So in today's program, I will just be going through the 7 wedding vows and giving a little comment, or I would say translation, into what that could mean for the young bride and the young groom. So the first wedding vow I have here, for the first vow, the groom promises his bride, "You will offer me food and be helpful in every way. I will cherish you and provide welfare and happiness for you and our children." To this vow, the bride returns with saying, "I will take the responsibility for our home and all household, food, and our finance." In short, the bride and groom promises each other prosperity by fulfilling their respective roles in their lives. So we'll deal with the vow from the man first, which is, "You will offer me food and be helpful in every way. I will cherish you and provide welfare and happiness for you and our children." Now, what this vow covers is the responsibilities of maintaining or providing for the household. So the groom promises to provide for the household, welfare and happiness for you and our children. From the bride's reply, she expects to take care of matters of the household, food, and finance. There are 2 issues I have with this vow, and I wouldn't really say issues that I have, but issues that may arise in this vow. The first is where the groom promises to provide welfare and happiness for the wife and children. I think it's important to define happiness and welfare, because it's promising to provide the happiness and welfare for the family based on what criteria. And by that I mean, if if the bride and the groom are from, let's say, lower class portion of society, or the lower income portion of society, would the wife be expecting the groom to provide a middle class lifestyle to be happy for her and their children? And what may also arise from that is that if a bride is accustomed to a higher class living standard, you are promising to maintain happiness by providing all that she needs for her and her children to be happy. So you are promising that she would not regress in terms of the standard of living. So that's something to look out for there in that promise. On the bride's side, where she promises to take responsibility for the household, food, and finance, that sounds like a housewife. And in today's society, well, we have a lot more independent and working women who are capable in themselves of maintaining a household, who may be not really compliant or supportive of that particular sentiment. In today's society, it's, I would say, it's more equilibrium. It's more 50-50, where both the bride and groom contributes towards maintaining the household and things like food at home. And should a guy give his wife control over all finances in the home? I would say no, especially if the bride cannot maintain or cannot manage money. So that's something to figure out before you make that promise. Women are generally better at managing money because they tend to take a lot more things into consideration, but well, some women don't. So the second vow, the groom promises, we will protect our house and children together. And the bride promises, I will be there by your side as your courage and your strength. I will rejoice in your happiness, and in return, you will love me solely. So the groom promising, we will protect our house and children together. By protect, I think you should define protect, and especially when it comes to concerning children, agree or figure out in what way you are going to raise your children and what will constitute protection. Because protection could be from physical harm, it could be in terms of proper nutrition, it could be social skills instilled in children. So these three criteria you should consider when raising a child. And husband and wife need to be on the same page, or at least be aware of each other's intention in teaching a child and protecting a child. So the bride's promise is, I will be there by your side as your courage and your strength. I will rejoice in your happiness, and in return you will love me solely. To the men, I would advise that you should stand on your own courage and your own strength, and don't depend on anybody to provide that for you. Because at some point, your family and your bride will expect you to have courage and strength. The bride expects you to love her solely. Realistically, that sounds a bit possessive. So in the third vow, the groom promises that we may grow healthy and prosperous and strive for the education of our children, and our children may live long. To which the bride replies, I will love you for the rest of my life as you are my husband. Every other man who exists in my life will be secondary. I also vow to remain chaste. So in the groom's promise, he promises that the family will grow healthy and prosperous. Again, that's in relation to what you define as healthy and prosperous, and that should be clearly defined in your discussions and what you expect prosperity to mean for you and your relationship. So you should have a clear view of what that means before you promise it. The woman promises, I love you for the rest of my life as you are my husband. Every other man who exists in my life will be secondary. Brides should realize that means your father comes second to your husband, which is something that a lot of brides, I think, especially these days, may have a problem with. I'm not saying that you neglect your father, but the promise states that your father's opinion now becomes secondary to your husband. So you should really contemplate what that means, which could be a source of conflict. So the fourth vow, the groom promises, you have completed me and brought sacredness into my life. and continues to say, may we be blessed with noble and obedient children. And in response, the bride says, I will shower you with joy and will strive to please you in whichever way I can. On the groom's end, he says, you have completed me and brought sacredness into my life. This stems from the Sanatan Dharmic principle that the universe is made up of male and female energies. The male energy being intent or drive, supportive, and the female energy being dynamic or a driving force. So in the bride's promise, she promises to shower the groom with joy and will strive to please in whichever way she can. Which is a promise to do what is reasonable, things within reason, things which she as a person can accomplish. So it's not a promise into things which she is not capable of doing or which is unreasonable for her. So it's a good idea to have discussed beforehand what is reasonable and what is unreasonably expected of each other. The fifth vow, the groom promises, you are my best friend and my only well-wisher. You have come into my life and enriched it. The bride replies, I promise to love and cherish you for all my life. Your happiness is my happiness, and your sorrow is my sorrow too. I will trust you and honor you, and will strive to fulfill all your wishes. So from the groom's end, you are my best friend, which implies that the bride is someone to confide in and to resort to when decisions have to be made or for advice, which means the cherishing of her opinion is basically what you are promising here. To which the bride replies, I promise to love and cherish you for all my life. Your happiness is my happiness, your sorrow is my sorrow, which basically is equivalent to the Christian vow, for better or for worse. Now, obviously, life is made of ups and downs. So, as a bride, you have to understand, this is saying that you understand that there will be good times in our life together and there will be bad times in our life together, and I will share both of them with you. I will trust you and honor you and will strive to fulfill all your wishes. This ties in to both points of where, as mentioned before, that the groom realizes that his bride has brought sacredness into my life, which means she is the, let's say, Shakti energy, and you are the Shiva. The groom is the Shiva energy, the bride is the Shakti energy, which is you have intent and you have the dynamic force. This is where the bride says she will trust the intent and honor the intent of the husband, and she will strive to fulfill all your wishes, which means she will act as the dynamic force in the relationship to help bring the intent into material reality. So it ties into the vow from before, which is the masculine and feminine energy of, well, you can say creation or Sanatan Dharmic principle. The sixth vow, when the groom says, now that you have taken 6 steps together, we have taken 6 steps together, You have filled my heart with immense joy. Will you do the kindness of filling my heart with such happiness at all times? To which the bride says, I will always be there by your side. Which ties into the fifth and fourth vow, which implies that in having completed each other, that we remain as a completed or single unit in decision making and in sharing the joys and sorrows of life. And the seventh vow, the groom says, we have become husband and wife and are one. You will be mine and I will be yours for eternity. The bride agrees and replies, with the witness of the Almighty, I am now your wife, and we will love, honor, and cherish each other as long as we live. So the seventh vow is a reiteration that there's a completion, or the groom realizes that we have become husband and wife and we are one, which is a completion of the joining of both aspects of nature, masculine and feminine, which is broken down into masculine being intent and feminine being dynamic. And the wife saying, I am now your wife, and we will love, honor, and cherish each other for as long as we shall live. So from reading these vows, we can see now one comment on the general structure of the vows is that the vows do not relate to or take into consideration the nitty-gritty or daily aspects of the relationship. It is a recognition that it is a joining of masculine and feminine energy to create one unit, which is the marriage union. Masculine and feminine energy is something that exists throughout nature. It is something that exists within each individual, regardless of gender. However, in the relationship, we tend to think of masculine as the man and feminine as the woman. But in reality, the masculine is more the intent to put a particular action into motion. And the feminine is the energy brought forward, generated or channeled to bring that intent into material nature, which ties into the Sanatan Dharmic principle, which is Shiva is the substratum of the universe, and Shakti or Parvati is the energy or the driving force that creates the universe. If you want to be very technical about it, the entire universe is feminine, in that Shiva is intent only, nothing physical, only intent, and Shakti or Parvati is energy. And as we know, light is energy, sound is energy, even solid things are energy, which is atoms vibrating at such a high frequency that it becomes solid. Or I don't know if it's low frequency, but energy is what the universe is made up of, and energy is, in Sanskrit terms, Shakti. Now, if you break that down into the relationship, the intent in the relationship is the Shiva aspect or the male aspect. The activity of the relationship is the feminine aspect or the creative aspect. When a woman has an intent, that is a masculine aspect manifesting in a woman. It has nothing to do with the gender. When a man is using energy or dynamic force to bring something into creation, that is a feminine aspect. That is creation. That it is by definition the feminine aspect. So a well-balanced individual within the relationship, or a well-balanced individual, generally speaking, is somebody who has both these aspects in tune with each other, and therefore the marriage symbolically represents or extends this balance into a partner relationship. So marriage, or at this point the promises or the vows made in marriage, are referring to these energies coming together in a union, creating a single unit. And now from here on out, both energies, both entities, using their energies together to further their family, to have children, to prosper, to acquire wealth, and so on, in relation to their desires, of course, because wealth, I think, should not be seen as a particular status, but rather wealth as being we have enough as a unit where we are safe in the life that we lead, which is something that I think should be agreed upon before marriage. It should not be something that you are trying to acquire or to define after being married as to what wealth constitutes. So that's just two, by the way, points concerning marriage. One being the union of energies and what those energies represent, masculine and feminine, and the other, a very important one, what it means to be wealthy and what it means to be prosperous. So I hope you enjoyed this short session on the 7 marriage vows and a little commentary on what those vows mean and what they imply. So thank you for joining me on today's program. My name is Onkar, saying see you next time.